Greetings to everyone. My name is Melvin Ray. I'm incarcerated in Alabama's Department of Corrections. I've been incarcerated since April 19th, 1999, for the conviction of murder in Madison County, Huntsville, Alabama. For the past 17 years, I've been fighting my case within the courts of Alabama, the federal courts, the United States District Court, the Northern District of Alabama, the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, Atlanta, all the way to the United States Supreme Court, attempting to prove my innocence and the fact that I was wrongfully convicted. What I'm doing now is starting to, I guess you can say, outreach or informing the public on what mass incarceration is all about. Previously, I have filmed the living conditions, sat down and interviewed other people inside of the prison system through an organization that I founded with another member, and that's Free Alabama Movement. So a lot of people are probably familiar with me from Free Alabama Movement, are fully aware of the fact that we use social media to expose the issues that go on inside of the prison on a day-to-day basis. What we're doing now, we're transitioning into the actual justice system, the miscarriages of justice, and exposing ways that the judicial system is used to wrongfully convict. And what I'll be doing is profiling my personal case, breaking down the issues, presenting documents, evidence showing how the system works to convict. And it does not have anything to do with justice. It has to do with economics, and that's something that we have thoroughly exposed in Free Alabama Movement. And as I said, we're going to start going inside of the cases now. Now that we have the system pretty much in the spotlight, people are starting to become aware of what's going on inside the prison system. Now we're going to go, as I said, and start showing how people get here. Starting off, I'll be addressing an issue dealing with the forensics evidence that was used in my case. Be looking at some of the documents prepared by the Alabama Department of Forensic Science. We'll be looking at trial testimony, people who testified in my case, showing some of the misconduct that goes on behind the scenes that people are not aware about when they're sitting up watching the trial and watching a person's life, literally be toyed with for economic, and political means. So what I'm going to start out talking about is, first I'm going to talk about the Alabama Department of Forensic Science. I have a document here. I found this out after I went to trial. And what I found out is that the Alabama Department of Forensic Science was not accredited when I went to trial. And what I mean by that is that the Department of Forensic Science laboratories did not meet certain criteria that authorize them to perform scientific tests, DNA tests, ballistics testing, the whole range of forensic science. And what we were able to do, we didn't come by this in my case, we came by this in another person's case. And we were able to obtain these documents showing, pretty much the fraud that goes on within these Department of Forensic Science laboratories all around the country. Many of you are probably familiar with the scandal that was in Oklahoma, where there was a fabrication of, thousands of cases. There's a scandal going on right now in the state of Mississippi with a Dr. Haynes. There's scandal literally all around the country. On the East Coast, I think it's in New York or one of those states on the eastern border, and it's all the same. You have people who are part of this system of mass incarceration. Everyone is profiting from it. People's jobs and livelihoods are at stake, and so they have an incentive to falsify evidence. They're literally agents in arms of the state. They're not there to present the truth. They're there to promote this agenda that's going on in these courtrooms around the country. First, I'm going to show you this document here. You can see it says on the top, the Alabama Department of Forensic Science. It's an audit report. You can see there. This is the audit. You can't see it. I'm trying. Let me get it where we can. I want to make sure y'all can see this. Hold on just a second. All right. Hopefully, see, is that the best way to do it? Yeah, okay. All right, you can see at the top it says it's an audit report, the Alabama Department of Forensic Science. And it's a report on audit of compliance by the agency that certifies these firms. And you can see it was conducted February 19th through the 21st, 2002. You see the people who are involved. You can see their names: Dale Carpenter, Mark Cruz, Angelo Della Mana, Deborah Figarelli, Sam Mitchell, Kathy Rickett, Brenda Walls, Kelly Wood, and this is their report. But what I want you all to notice at the very bottom of this report, you'll see an inscription there. And this is what that inscription says, this right here at the bottom, this very bottom subscription. It says, note that the findings and observations in this report are for this pre-decisional purpose only. And then it says, an escape clause to get you off the hook in case the report is discovered and there are questions about non-implementation. And so you see right off the top, I'll show it to you again. There it is. And someone wrote why right there. At the very bottom, you can see the words why. It's cut off, but on the original, you can see the words why. And what you see is that we have a forensic lab that is unaccredited. And the accrediting agency that's supposed to be in the business of making sure that the laboratory is in compliance is saying that they're creating an escape clause to get you off the hook in the case the report is discovered and there are questions about non-implementation. And what they mean by non-implementation is if they don't implement the changes and deficiencies within the Department of Forensic Science, then they're trying to label this report, which is actually an audit report, which documented incredible deficiencies in the department, and said that they were wording it as such so that it could be used as an escape clause. And these are not my words. These are their words. And you can see them right there. It says an escape clause to get you off the hook in case the report is discovered and there are questions. So they're not in the business of justice, as I said. You can get this report from the laboratory. I'm going to get into that later, and we're going to talk more about the report and the contents of the report. But this is not about the report right now. We're just going to talk about some of the work that was being performed by the Department of Forensic Laboratories in my particular case. And I'll show you how I was impacted by having an unaccredited forensic laboratory perform testing in my case, where my life, the life of my family, my children, my wife, my livelihood was at stake. And these people are playing games all the way around the board. Started out when I was originally arrested. I was charged. Let me get the arrest report here. Well, what I'm going to do, because y'all can see I'm having some difficulty with the camera, the angles. So what I'm going to do is this will be part one. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to explain to you some of the things about my case, and then I'm going to go back and get the documents and the evidence, and we're going to go over them. I was originally arrested April 19th, 1999 in Madison County at the NAACP headquarters in Huntsville, Alabama. At that time, I was charged with murder. And at that time I was charged with murder, by beating and asphyxiating the person who was deceased. They conducted an autopsy report by a doctor whose name is Dr. Stephen Postilnik. And Dr. Postilnik at that time was the chief medical examiner for the Alabama Department of Forensic Science. And he concluded in his report that the deceased had died as a result of asphyxiation. Well, several months later, the prosecutor filed a motion to exhume, and what they were doing was asking the court to allow them to exhume the body, to remove the body out of the ground, and to conduct a second autopsy. And they said that they had received information from the co-defendant in my case, a man named Fred Batts, who was also charged with the murder in this case. And they said based on his testimony, they believed that they had the cause of death wrong and that he had been shot. And so we went to this exhumation hearing. The prosecutor told the judge that he had received information from the co-defendant. He told my defense attorney, he told me, and they went and exhumed the body. They pulled the body up out of the ground and they conducted a second autopsy. And so then we got a second autopsy report. And the second doctor to perform the autopsy was Dr. J.C. Upshaw Downs, who was the director of the laboratory at the time. And so they conducted a second autopsy. I had already been indicted based on the first autopsy that was conducted by Dr. Postilnik, and then they conducted a second autopsy based on Dr. Downs' findings. And they said that the victim died from gunshot. Well, when we got to trial, Mr. Batts turned state witness, or however you phrase it, and he testified for the state. And he testified that the victim had been shot, and that he witnessed me shoot the victim with a 9mm handgun. Well, when he was then questioned about when he approached the prosecutor to tell them about this gunshot, he denied it. He said he was not the person that talked to them about it. And so 17 years later, I'm still trying to find out who is the person that told the prosecutor that the cause of death was wrong. And why did the prosecutor lie to the court? Why did he lie to defense counsel? Why did he lie to me? Why did he lie to the second grand jury that heard the case? Why did he tell all of us that the reason why a second autopsy was performed was because Fred Batts had told them so? And so on post-conviction, what they call post-conviction, I filed a claim of prosecutor misconduct against the prosecutor for providing this false information. The prosecutor then changed the story and said that the police received the information from the street and that they did not reveal who it came from and that they do not have to. And so 17 years later, I'm still trying to find out who did the police get it from. I'm trying to find out which police officer received the information, because approximately 4 officers testified in my trial and not a single one of them said that they spoke to anyone in anything regarding this. Never anyone approached them. I've never received a police report. I've never received a statement. For all I know, the person could approach the police and say, hey, they killed him. They did it. But they're not disclosing me any of this information. And I've already proven that I was lied to, that my defense attorney was lied to. I contacted Dr. Stephen Postilnik, the pathologist who performed the first autopsy. He put it in his communications through third party to me that the prosecutor told him that the co-defendant had provided that information. So these lies have been told over and over and over. And when they were exposed, the prosecutor now changes and says, oh, well, they didn't tell me. They told the police. And so we're trying to discover who was told, when they were told, what they were told, and by whom were they told. And so during trial, Batts testified that, and I want to point out a timeline. He did not agree to testify for the state until after the second autopsy was completed, which was just a couple of weeks before trial. And he said, okay, I'll testify that Melvin Ray shot Andre Horton. This is after me and Batts had been already indicted for murder by asphyxiation. This is after autopsy report already said the deceased died from asphyxiation. This is after the body was exhumed. This is after a second autopsy reform. This is after a second indictment had been issued. Batts decided to then change his testimony almost 2 years after the fact. And when he got on the witness stand, he said he witnessed me shoot Andre Horton with a 9mm handgun. Well, approximately 17 months after trial, I filed a public information request to the Department of Forensic Science to disclose to me the ballistics examinations that were performed in my case. I was a convicted felon. I did not own any handguns. I did not own a 9mm or any other type of gun. And so I wanted to know what the ballistics report showed, because they did not produce any ballistics at trial. When I get into the trial testimony and start covering this, I want to show you the trial testimony. I want to show you exactly what was said. I'm going to produce the ballistics report. As a matter of fact, I want to produce it. I'm fixing to show you a part of it right now. All right, let me find these files. I've got files all over the place, so y'all just bear with me for a second. All right. This is the end. Okay. Here's Batts' testimony at trial. This is what Batts testified to at trial. He said, okay, we'll start up here at the top. He went and got his stuff because I guess he expected to come back. I don't guess he expected to come back over, so he wanted to get his stuff. He got the gun from out of the Mustang. When you said earlier, when you said some of his property, did you mean another gun? Saying, objection. Well, what property are you talking about? 2 guns. You can see it highlighted. 2 guns. A 9mm and a .357. And the 9mm, is that the same one you described to the jury as far as the one he killed Andre with? Okay. So the prosecutor's talking to Batts, getting him to describe the guns that he's already told the jury that I allegedly used to kill Horton with. So it's a 9mm. You just saw it for yourself. You just saw the trial transcript. Okay. This is a article from the Huntsville Times. It was written by a gentleman named David Holden. And he's saying testimony leads to second autopsy with other results. And you can see at the head, the subheading, it says, one says victim suffocated, second finds bullet hole, raised trial is told. But you'll see that they never tell us where this information actually came from. And what the part that I wanted to point out to you all in this report is, let's see. Right here in the corner. You see right here, it says, according to Downs' testimony, ignored the hole in the back of Horton's head where a 9mm bullet chipped the skull and lodged in Horton's neck. So you see the reporter at trial is reporting that the testimony at trial was that Horton was shot with a 9mm bullet. So you have Batts testifying it was a 9mm. You have the forensic pathologist, Dr. Downs, testifying it was a 9mm. You have the reporter, David Holden, Times staff reporter for the Huntsville Times, reporting this is what he's hearing in the courtroom. Everyone in the courtroom is hearing Batts testify that this man was killed with a 9mm. But as I told you, I filed a public information request requesting a copy of the actual ballistics report. because they never produced it in trial. They never brought a ballistics report in trial and said this is the ballistics report. And if you give me just a second, I'm gonna get the ballistics report out and show you what it says. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna get this ballistics report out so you can see for yourself. You don't have to take my word for it. Here is a copy of the ballistics report. As you can see, it was completed December 20th, the year 2000. Case number, you see Andre Horton's name there. Memorandum to file by Morris G. Brown, forensic scientist, subject examination of the ballistics report. And right here you see that the projectile was actually fired from a .380 caliber weapon. I'm going to underline that. Make sure you all see that. Let me find a pen. Because what I'm going to expose is how the prosecutor, the pathologist, the Department of Forensic Science, police, the co-defendant, all of them conspired to present this false evidence to the jury, knowing that this man was killed by someone with the .380. And you can see it right there. I put a mark on it. And so I've been filing on this claim now for over 16, almost 17 years to prove that perjured testimony and prosecutor misconduct were used in my trial. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to take you through the indictment process. I'm going to take you through the pre-trial and trial process. I'm going to take you from point A to point Z and show you how the criminal justice system, the prosecutors, the Department of Forensic Science manipulated the cause of death. They allowed false testimony about the weapon. They allowed false testimony about where the source of the information came from. And when these false statements, this perjury was discovered, they started telling more lies. And I'm going to show you how the courts, fully aware, all the documents been presented to them too, have refused to render justice in my case. And so that's what this feature will be about. And that's just one of the issues. That's just one of the issues that'll be presented. It's not the only issue that'll be presented. I'll present evidence about my alibi witnesses. We'll contrast that with the testimony that was offered at trial by Fred Batts. We'll look at other evidence in the case. We'll look at a document that says that the state was aware that there were other people who were involved in this crime, and they never have disclosed to me who these people are. Not even to say if one of these people is the person that approached police and told them about this alleged gunshot. We simply don't know. We've been trying to find out. I want to put it out there, and if this case piques your interest, I hope you'll help me find out, because this is a pursuit of justice against what is clearly a wrongful conviction, what is clearly a miscarriage of justice. It is a fraud, and I fought up to today, and I'm going to continue to fight. You know, I want to use social media. I'm going to use whatever resource is available to me to prove my innocence. And I'm going to present documented evidence to support my claims. I'm not going to ask anyone to believe just because I say this is thus is so. If I say it, I'm going to produce documents to back it up. And most of the documents are documents that were generated by the state investigators. But you're going to see that through the course of my trial, none of this information, not even the projectile that they said they found that the ballistics report shows was fired from .3, they never even presented that at trial. They never even brought the projectile in the trial. You know, So we don't know if they even actually found a projectile. They say they did, and they say it was fired from a 380. But their witnesses all are saying that, they saw me kill this man with a 9mm. So we're going to examine, how did this come to pass? And so this is my journey. This is my struggle. This is how I'm fighting to prove my innocence, fighting for my life inside of Alabama's Department of Correction. And my name is for this document, Innocent Man Melvin Ray. And I'm fighting for justice, and I hope you'll join the fight with me.